Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Issei. Today we are gonna see what if Issei never became a devil. Part 1. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. I suggest playing the song War at Idakut from Grisea's series for the first part. Right-click the video and put in on a loop. The beautiful lady walked down the cherry blossoms of Japan. She was around 17 years old. She had straight blonde hair with curly ends. She was tall, around 5'11". Her eyes were pure blue, and her face is that of an angel. "Oh, father. Why did you have to leave us?" the lady said, her voice filled with sorrow. Unbeknown to her, a young child was hiding behind a tree. The child was around 6 and had messy brown hair. He was playing around the cherry blossoms when he saw the lady. What urged him to follow was the sad expression on her face. The boy moved silently to the next cherry blossom tree to take cover when he noticed out the corner of his eyes, a sinister-looking man was staring at the lady. He had black wings. The boy covered his mouth to prevent himself from making a noise. The man produced out of thin air a spear made out of light. The boy's eyes widened. He stopped himself from forcing the man to teach him. "Wow. A superhero," the boy whispered to himself. The boy ran to the next tree to take cover. He noticed the beautiful lady stopped walking. He tilted his head in confusion. He ran to the next tree to get a better look at the lady. He frowned when he saw the lady crying. He felt a sudden urge to comfort her. But then he remembered the sinister-looking man. He quickly spotted the man with a light spear. The man took a form he knew. That was the form someone takes when someone is going to throw a spear. He saw it in a TV show. Realization dawned upon him. The man was going to kill the lady. "Don't worry, Lady Sama, I will protect you," the boy shouted as he ran towards the lady. The lady wiped her tears quickly and looked at the adorable kid. What was that? Instead of answering, the kid jumped forward to push the lady. The lady's eyes widened. Her world turned white as she fell. The only thing she saw was the silhouette of the kid who pushed her getting impaled by a light spear. The light spear stabbed the tree, the boy with it. The lady looked at her side to see a fleeing man with black wings. She kept muttering no as she ran towards the tree where the child was impaled to. She dematerialized the light spear and caught the child. The child smiled at her. "I told you I will protect you," the child grinned at the lady before coughing blood. The lady stared in horror as the boy coughed up blood. It tainted her white dress, but she didn't care. The only thing in her mind was to save this boy. She created a golden magic circle. The whole forest was engulfed by the white light produced by the magic circle. The boy closed his eyes. His hands were hugging the lady's neck tightly. They arrived in a very beautiful place. The walls were golden. Shining jewels and gems adored the wall. There were angels. They were all looking at the lady with mixed emotions. Some were terrified for the lady was covered in blood. Her white dress was certainly not helping. Some were curiously looking at the child around the lad's neck. The majority were looking at her questioningly. But the lady ran past them all, not even giving a glance. She entered the elevator and quickly pressed the 6th floor. The elevator seemed to sense the lady's distress cause the ride was very quick. Once the door opened, the lady stepped out and shouted, "Ani-sama." Her angelic voice echoed throughout the room. Suddenly, a magic circle appeared right in front of her. A man materialized, a tall man around 6'3". He was around 18 years old. The man had long blonde hair, kind smile and blue eyes like the lady. He was what you would call handsome. He had 12 pure white wings behind his back and a halo above his head. He was wearing a golden armor. "Yes. My beautiful baby sized what happened?" the man exclaimed. Dread started to fill the lady's heart. The lady started to tear up. The man hugged her comfortingly and took the child from her. "Can we use the brave saints on him?" the lady asked, panic in her voice. Michael stared at her before answering, "I suppose," not noticing the green light being emitted by the boy's left arm. He laid the boy down the table. "Boy. My host is dying here." Michael looked at the boy's left arm in surprise. "Dreg. Obviously. Now, Gabriel." The lady, Gabriel, perked up. "Yes, Dreg. But you want to save my host." But before Gabriel can answer, the boy's other palm glowed eerie blue. "Your host, he's my host." Michael's eyes widened. "Albion. Hello there, Michael." "Hello, lady who almost got my host killed." Gabriel sunk her head down. The boy moved his left arm, albeit painfully, only to hit his right arm. Michael smiled at this, and so did Gabriel. "Albion. You're here too? I think you know what this means." "Yes, Dreg. The prophecy has come true." "Michael, you already have your joker, so Gabriel." "Yes. Are you willing to let our host to become your joker?" "Yes. Anything that will save him." Michael nodded at this. "Only the joker card can handle this boy. Any ordinary card won't suffice." "You are very much correct, Michael. This boy is special. I am telling you." Michael nodded. He grabbed Gabriel's hand and laid it on top of the boy's chest. "Gabriel, I will give you the knowledge to turn someone into one of your brave saints." He touched Gabriel's forehead with his index finger. Gabriel's eyes glowed golden. I, Gabriel, one of the 4 great seraphs, accept this boy as my joker. A hand-sized magic circle appeared above the boy's chest. Gabriel put her hand through the magic circle. When he took it out, she was holding the joker card. It flew out of her hold and floated directly above the boy's face, and it turned to golden dust. The golden dust entered the boy's body. The bright glowing stopped as the magic circle vanished. At once, the wounds on the boy's body healed. The missing flesh was replaced by stronger ones. Broken and dislocated bones were fixed. And the lost blood was also replaced. The boy's appearance received minor changes. His skin became paler than before, and his facial structure became slightly sharper and more defined. At this, Gabriel sighed in relief and sat down. The boy's breathing returned to normal. Congratulations, angels. You just received the 2 heavenly dragons on your side. Albion, I know you want to fight me, but let's refrain from doing that, or we will make Issei insane. Gabriel smiled. Issei. His name is Issei. Yes, Issei is the boy's name. Issei Hyoudou. Well, I didn't save Issei because he had both the heavenly dragons in him. I saved him because he saved me. Despite not knowing him, he saved me regardless and gladly offered his life. In a young age he was able to achieve that. Gabriel said, her voice filled with admiration and happiness. Michael smiled at Gabriel. Gabriel, why don't you take Issei into his room? Gabriel nodded, I will do just that. Inside Issei's mind, the 2 heavenly dragons were speaking, mentally. Greg, being together in a one host. You know what this means, right? Sadly, yes. Before God died, he imprisoned us. But we managed to befriend him despite being only in gauntlets. He told us that one day, when I am gone and the 3 factions have made peace, you 2 will be placed in one body. When this happens, take care of the child. Make sure he grows in wisdom and love. Because everyone will need him if you want this world to survive. If he became an angel, that will surely make him grow in wisdom and love. This child had a pure heart to begin with. He helped a stranger, even risked losing his own life. He also woke both of us up despite being 6 years old. I am already proud of him for that. Albion, I am sorry for claiming I am stronger than you. For the sake of this child, let be there peace between us. Fine, just don't let your ego control you again. We could have wiped the 3 great powers without a problem when we had our bodies. But now, our powers have been reduced. I can't even remember what my other powers were besides divide. I will make this child the strongest Seeker Yuete and Hacker Yuete ever. I will help you with that, Drake. Now, how about we scare this child so he wakes up? I think that's a very good idea. Issei sat up, sweat covered his body. His breathing was very rapid. The door opened, revealing Gabriel holding her light spear. Issei stared at her. Where am I? Issei asked with a cute squeaky voice. Gabriel smiled at this. She sat beside Issei and rubbed his back. Calm down, Issei. My name is Gabriel, you are in heaven. Gabriel said while smiling cheerfully. Michael was behind Gabriel, he sweat dropped. Yeah, sister. I don't think that was the best way to. Issei's eyes widened, I'm dead. Michael tried to stop Gabriel, but no. Here. Gabriel touched Issei's forehead the same way Michael touched hers. Issei's eyes glowed golden for a few seconds before returning back to normal. Issei burst into tears and hugged Gabriel tightly. Gabriel-sama. Few was blood. Michael sighed. Gabriel, look what you have done. Michael's eyes widened when Gabriel started to cry together with Issei. Michael slowly walked backwards to exit the room, and when he did he quickly shut the door and ran. After a few minutes, Gabriel left Issei to prepare his food. Issei stared at the ceiling. His eyes were slowly closing when a deep voice spoke out. Issei Hyoudou. Issei quickly covered himself with a fluffy blanket and hid. Who's you? Issei said as he surveyed the surroundings. If you're here to hurt Gabriel-sama, I will hurt you. Haha. What if we are here to hurt her? We will feast on her dead remains. Haha. Boy, Albion, I think that's too much. Issei stood up and punched everywhere. I won't let you. Roar. Issei got down and covered his head. Gabriel-sama. Don't enter the womb. Okay. Relax. Issei, we are the 2 heavenly dragons. My name is Albion, I am the vanishing dragon. Issei, look at your right arm. The blue glow, that is where I am. And I am Drake, the Welsh dragon. I currently reside in your left arm. We are your partners. I have 2 Dwiggins as partners. Yes, you do. Okay, now Issei, looks like your princess is retuning. Issei blushed, she is not my princess. Keep saying that to yourself. Oh also, Issei. You can speak to us mentally. Also we know what you're thinking. Always. Issei exited the room. He saw Gabriel in the kitchen. He ran towards Gabriel and tripped. The nearby angels looked at him. Adorable. So cute. Whose child is that? The angels stared at him questioningly. The angels made way for an angel Michael. Issei ran towards Michael and hid behind Michael's leg. That's so cute. Too much cuteness. Michael picked up Issei and carried him. Everyone, this is Issei Hyoudou, he is a new member of our family. He is also Gabriel's joker. The angels started clapping, which made Issei take Michael's cape and hit his face. Gabriel started walking towards Michael and Issei. She was wearing a chef's hat and an apron. She was also holding a spatula, which she used in hitting Michael. "What are you doing with my joker?" Gabriel asked threateningly. Her 12 pure white wings were flashing from white to black to white again. Michael smiled at his sister. "Gabriel, relax. I am not gonna take Issei away from you." A man approached him. He was 6'3" tall and looked like Michael. He was also around the age of Michael. The only difference is the man had tousled medium-length hair. "Hello Gabriel." "Hello Michael. I heard the newest edition of the Angels was here," the man said in a kind, jolly voice. Gabriel quickly snatched Issei from Michael and hugged him. Gabriel mouthed a no to the pouting Raphael. "Anyways, why isn't his wings out?" Gabriel and Michael questioned themselves why they didn't think that. Gabriel shrugged her shoulders at the same time with Michael, making Raphael force an awkward smile. "Gabriel, what's happening?" Issei asked. The angels just couldn't resist the cuteness and jumped at Gabriel to pinch Issei's cheeks. Gabriel kept screaming hey in the background, but the angels paid her no heed. Suddenly Issei's wings burst out. 10 pure white wings. Issei smiled at this. Wow. Overcame by excitement, Issei ran to Heaven's balcony and jumped. Michael gasped, "Chase him. He still doesn't know how to use his wings and fly." The angels ran after him. But they backed off when Issei was being caught by Uriel, the fourth great Seraph. He also looked like Michael and Raphael, but he had short red hair. He was also 18 years old like Michael and Raphael. "So, this is Issei." Gabriel released a deadly aura which made Uriel gulp. "Give him back." Uriel screamed. Gabriel held Issei's hand as they walked around heaven. Gabriel showed the first floor heaven. The first floor heaven looked like a normal village in the medieval times. Only the knights and citizens are replaced by angels. There were angels wearing golden armor, not as flashy as Michael's or Raphael's or Uriel's, but still pretty impressive. "Hey Gabriel. What do angels eat?" Issei asked. Gabriel smiled at him and bent down to his level. "We don't eat anything, Issei." Issei tilted her head and looked at her questioningly. "Then, we're all dead." "Issei, we." Boom. Gabriel jumped away and shrieked. "Gabriel, it's just Albion. He is a bad dragon, so don't listen to him." "That's not nice, Issei." "That was Drag, damn it." Gabriel and Issei didn't pay them attention, they argued the whole tour. Gabriel decided to go to the Garden of Eden. They rested under a big tree. Issei remembered his parents and his eyes widened in fear and jumped in front of Gabriel. "Gabriel, let's visit my parents. They must be worried sick for me." Gabriel's eyes widened. "Of course. How could we forget?" Gabriel stood up and patted her dress to remove the dirt. They found flat ground. Gabriel created a golden magic circle. The light engulfed the Garden of Eden. It slowly returned to normal as the golden circle started to fade. Gabriel and Issei arrived at the Cherry Blossom Road. Gabriel took hold of Issei's hand. After a few minutes, they arrived at Issei Hyoudou's house. Or rather what once was Issei's house. Issei let go of Gabriel's hand, who was also shocked. Issei entered the rubble he once called home. Gabriel ran after him. "Issei." Issei didn't look at her. He looked down. Gabriel tilted her head in confusion. "Issei." She approached Issei slowly. She entered the house and immediately regretted it. She saw the wall covered with blood. Issei was standing in what seems to be the living room. He was looking at something. Gabriel had an idea to what it could be. "Issei, come here," she said softly. Issei was crying and his body was shaking. Gabriel looked at the two objects lying in front of Issei. The room was dark, so she couldn't identify what it was. The room also had a sinister feeling in it that sent shivers down Gabriel's back. Gabriel took a closer look beside Issei and she gasped. The two objects were the dead corpses of Issei's parents. Issei suddenly hugged Gabriel's leg and cried. Gabriel rubbed Issei's back while she used the other arm to hug him. Gabriel suddenly felt two evil presences right above them. She hugged Issei tightly and rolled on the side, just in time to dodge the two light spears, which could have possibly killed Issei and wound her badly. Gabriel dashed for the door. The house exploded. Gabriel's wings wrapped them to protect them from the fire and debris which were coming their way. Gabriel saw the cause of the incident. There were two fallen angels flying above them. These were no ordinary fallen angels, these were Gabriel and Middled. Gabriel laughed. "Hello, my ever so gorgeous Gabriel." Gabriel glared threateningly at Gabriel. "Why would you do such a thing?" "Why, because it's fun, of course. To see the anger, desperation, or sadness in the faces of humans. Also the fact that Issei is the host of two heavenly dragons is just a plus. Although I got to say, to see anger in your face arouses me." Gabriel answered. He licked his lips after. Gabriel growled at him, hugging Issei tighter. She feels the vibration Issei's crying is making on her breasts, which quite bothers her. She rubs Issei's back before glaring back at Gabriel. Gabriel made floating light spears surround Gabriel and his servant, Middled. Now Gabby. I didn't come here to fight, I merely wished to see you and your beautiful face once again. And also, I wanted to see the newest member of the Angels. I promise you with all my heart that I will always, and I mean always, try to make him fall. Gabriel said before flying away, his laughter resounding throughout the area. Gabriel waited for Gabriel and Middle to be gone on sight before creating her magic circle and going to heaven. The crying Issei hugging her. Gabriel was snoring beside the sleeping Issei. She watched over him and comforted him as much as she can. But even she doubted what she is doing. She can't blame him, he just lost his parents. A very young child just saw the bloodied corpses of his parents. Issei hugged Gabriel's neck tightly, the images of his dead parents kept flashing in his mind. Gabriel. Akasan and Atausan. There was this red liquid everywhere. Gabriel. Are my parents gone? Issei tearfully asked. He didn't want to believe his beloved parents were really the bloody mess he saw inside. Gabriel's heart broke as she heard the boy's question. Silence filled the whole room for a few minutes as Gabriel kept thinking and failing to find an appropriate answer to Issei's question. Issei Gabriel began but was cut off by Issei. They are dead, right Gabriel? They left me. I should have died together with them. You should have let me die. Issei shouted as he broke away from Gabriel's hug. Gabriel's eyes widened. Issei, don't you dare say such things. She said softly. Issei shook his head. Yeah, we're just going to take care of me, then die like how my parents did. You're just going to leave me alone in this world. Issei cried out. After that he curled down and hugged his knees, shaking. Issei, I will never until the end of time will I ever leave your side. I promise. Gabriel said as she gently took hold of Issei's head and raised it to face hers. Issei's eyes shone, only a little, but still. His face softened a little. You promise? Issei asked, sniffing. Gabriel approached Issei and hugged him. He started to cry on Gabriel's neck again. Gabriel rubbed his back comfortingly. I promise. In one condition. What? You become strong. For me. I also think your Atausan and Akasan would have wanted you to grow up into a kind, strong, and intelligent boy. Gabriel replied, smiling. You think so? Gabriel kissed Issei's forehead. I know so. Issei's sniffing lessened and lessened until it completely disappeared. Issei, I would like to give you something. Issei looked at her. What is it? Gabriel moved her hair which was on top of her shoulders aside. She took off something which was on her neck, a necklace. The necklace was silver in color. There was a cross, it too was silver in color. In the middle of it was a red cross, emphasized by the plain silver color. The cross was also adorned by white diamonds. It was placed around the red cross, further emphasizing the color. Gabriel handed it to Issei. Issei stared at it in wonder. That was my father's very first gift to me. Gabriel said, smiling sadly to nothing in particular. Issei's eyes widened. He quickly took Gabriel's palm and placed the necklace. I can't take something important from you, Gabriel-sama. Gabriel smiled at Issei and returned the necklace. Take it, Issei. That is filled with my father's energy. He took it from himself and gave it to me, just in case I ran into some trouble. I want you to have it. Use it when you really need it. Consider it my very first gift for you. Issei smiled, really. Thank you, Gabriel-sama. I promise you I will cherish this till my life ends. Gabriel giggled. Now, take a nap. You will need it for your path to becoming the man your parents and I want you to be begins later. Gabriel noticed the change in Issei's hair, it was becoming a brownish blonde. Also his eyes completely changed to blue, like hers. She figured it was part of becoming an angel. Okay, Gabriel-sama. Issei said as he covered himself with a fluffy blanket. Gabriel sat on a chair near Issei's bed and watched him sleep. And soon after, she herself started to feel sleepy and laid her head beside Issei. Gabriel woke up to the sound of laughter. At first, she thought she was dreaming, but after a few minutes and the laughter didn't stop, she opened one of her eyes to see who was laughing. It was the annoying face of her older brother Michael. Gabriel stood up and growled at Michael. Ani-sama. Why did you disturb my slumber? Gabriel whined. Michael smiled. Well, there are actually several reasons. But the main reason was, you were supposed to take Issei to me. I will be his new teacher. Gabriel was about to retort when Issei rolled over and yawned. Looks like someone's waking up. Michael said. Blinked his eyes for a while, waiting for his drowsiness to wear off before jumping up. Hello, Gabriel-sama. Hello, Michael-sama. Issei chirped cheerfully. Michael's eyes widened in surprise. Gabriel sent him I will explain everything later look. Michael did a slight nod before suddenly grabbing Issei and flew off. Issei grabbed Michael's cloak tightly as he flew very fast. After a few moments full of screams, kicks, and punches from Issei, Michael landed to a floating island. Issei literally jumped of Michael's arms and kissed the green meadow of the floating island. Michael forced a smile towards Issei. Am I really that bad at flying? Michael asked himself before shrugging. Issei, after kissing the ground, surveyed the area. And to his surprise a very large chain was hooked from the floating island to heaven. He also noticed plenty more of chains hooked on heaven to floating islands. Issei didn't know, Michael was silently observing him. Looks like he already figured out what I was about to explain. Michael thought to himself. Michael-sama, why did we come here? Besides the chains and floating islands? Issei asked. Michael pointed the next island beside the one they are currently standing on. The island had a big mansion on the middle of it. Issei, that mansion is where we hold our meetings and parties. Most angels call it the mansion simply. I chose this island cause when you are on this island, you will be able to survey the other floating islands and also heaven itself. We built a tower at the middle of this island, so it will be able to alert us if anyone was to attack us. Issei nodded at all of this. Michael signaled Issei, Issei, now come follow me, I will now teach you about the history of our world. Including the Great War. I will also teach you the different power levels beings have in the supernatural world. Issei sat on the single chair at the middle of the green meadow. Michael appeared, a whiteboard beside him. Now, let me first tell you the different power levels or tiers as we would like to it. There are 9 tiers in total. With 1 being the highest of them all. First tier, in this tier, there is only 1 being. And that is Great Red. Second tier, only Office, the dragon god is on this tier. Third tier, God, our father, belongs to this power leveler tier. The 2 heavenly dragons when they still have their bodies also belong to this tier and when fully mastered also belongs here. Shiva belongs here, although he's the weakest in this tier. Fourth tier, the 4 Mao of hell and the 4 great seraphs of heaven belongs to this. I am leader of the 4 seraphs and therefore belongs to this tier. The evil dragons also belong here. Some of the chief gods like Odin and Zeus belong here also. Indra belongs here also. Fifth tier, ultimate class devils and angels belong to this tier. Ultimate class such as the 5 dragon kings belongs here too. Sixth tier, high class devils and angels like the young Seraph and Rias belong here. Seventh tier, medium class devils and angels belong here. 8th tier, low class devils and angels belong here. NINTH tier, exorcists and priests belong on this tier. Michael ended with a smile. Only thing is, we don't really know on which tier you belong. He is currently on the 7th tier. Although he has no idea how to use these. Michael nodded, thank you Dreg. Now, Issei. Listen well. The history of the supernatural world is a bloody one and confusing too. Michael said. Issei nodded his head eagerly, excited at hearing what exactly happened. It all started when our brother, Lucifer started a rebellion against our father, God. Of course, God made short work of them. Although painful, God sent his children to hell, hence the devils. Now the devils started to take revenge on God by leading the humans to the wrong path. So God sent angels down on earth to help guide the humans back to him. The leader of these angels was named Azazel, a dear friend of mine. Unfortunately, Azazel and the other angels gave in to their desires and wished and fell, making the fallen angels. Eventually, these 3 factions warred against each other, with God, Lucifer who changed his name to Satan, and Azazel leading their own factions. At the same time, the 2 heavenly dragons fought each other. Affecting not only the Great War, but also the underworld, earth, and even heaven itself. All 3 factions suffered great losses, though reluctant, they had to unite against the 2 rampaging beings of raw power for the greater good of everything. They sealed the 2 heavenly dragons inside sacred gear, you currently have both sacred gear. Because of that, God and the 4 great Satan got exhausted. But despite that, they continued to fight each other until all 5 faded away. The 3 factions, which suffered great loss, neither of the 3 wanted to continue the war since all their main force are gone. So while there is still no peace between the 3 great factions, they didn't dare do anything stupid either. After a while, Michael was replaced by Raphael. Issei, Michael is just going to handle something so I will be the one to teach you about our kind. Raphael said, smiling at the eagerness in Issei's eyes. Raphael began to write something on the whiteboard. Issei moved to the side to see what Raphael was doing. He drew the word angel on the middle of the whiteboard. Issei, how old do you think Michael is? Raphael asked, crossing his arms, leaning on the whiteboard. Issei scratched the back, 18 years old. I think. How about Uriel? Also 18. How about me? Raphael pointed at himself, grinning. Issei pointed at him, you are not 18, you're 38 years old. Issei accused, Raphael's eyes twitched in annoyance. Whatever, Issei, the 4 great seraphs are actually 1,000 years old already. Raphael said. Issei's eyes widened, how come you Michael-sama and Uriel-sama looks young? And also Gabriel. Raphael's head fell, really only those 3 look young? What about me? Raphael thought to himself as tears streamed down his eyes, frowning at the smiling Issei. Well, we can shift into the age we want to be in. Currently, you can't do that since you are technically still not an angel. Raphael said. Issei raised one of his brows in confusion. But Gabriel told me I am her angel. blushing as he realized what he said. Raphael noticed this, but decided not to mention it. Well, you are an angel, but you are still not a full-blown angel. You may have your wings and the powers of an angel, you are still not an angel. You're like only half an angel. You will become a full angel when you become 16 years old. Can you become a little bit older, Raphael-sama? Issei asked, his eyes looking at Raphael's pleadingly. Raphael quickly attempted to look away, but it was too cute. Raphael sighed, fine. Raphael glowed for a while. He changed to his 21 years old form. The light faded and behold the 21 years old angel. Raphael's hair remained the same, the only change was his body received a bit more muscle, and his face became much sharper. Issei frowned in disappointment, Raphael-sama. I told you to become older, not younger. Raphael's eyes widened, I look younger when I'm 21 compared to being 18. He asked himself in surprise. I really am messed up. Raphael thought gloomily. Issei looked at the wallowing Raphael. Raphael coughed and regained his composure. Alright, Issei, let's move on. You have wings, but you don't know how to use them, right? Issei nodded, embarrassed. Raphael smiled kindly, no need to be embarrassed, Issei. When Gabriel, Michael, Uriel and I were little, we don't know how to control our wings too. Now summon your wings, to summon them you only need to think of them behind your back, and, that's it. Issei nodded at this and did as he was told. Then 10 pure white wings suddenly burst out of his back. Each wing flailed wildly, making Issei lose his balance. Raphael took hold of Issei's shoulders and held him down, enough that even if the 10 white wings flailed around in different directions, he wouldn't fall. Now, you probably feel you suddenly received 10 more arms, they are the wings. You relax them. After a few seconds the flailing lessened and eventually, it was gone. Issei's eyes widened and his smile grew big as Raphael ruffled his hair. Good job, Issei. Now, you will automatically know which wing's which. Am I right? Raphael asked, a knowing smile on his face. Issei had a surprised look on his face as he realized what Raphael was saying is true. Now to fly, flap all your wings at once perpendicularly. At the same time, you must jump up as high as you can. That should get you up high. Now to maintain your flying, you must keep moving your wings at a regular, balanced pace. If you want to go slower then maintain a slow pace, and if you want to go faster, then maintain a faster pace. Raphael said while smiling, eyes closed. When he opened his eyes, he was stupefied, Issei was flying uncontrollably all around the island. What the hhhhhh. Raphael screamed as he barely dodged the flying Issei. Issei hit the whiteboard behind Raphael. Issei landed safely, but tripped and he stepped on one of his wings. After Raphael and Issei fixed the chaos they created, they went back and started the next lesson. Now, Issei, your wings can also be used as weapons, Uriel will teach you that later. I will teach you how to create strong gusts of wind. You simply flap your wings towards your target. Like this. Raphael said. He soared up above the sky, smiling as he saw Issei's eyes shining with amazement. Raphael dove downwards before gliding down slowly. He then flapped his wings towards the forest near them. The trees on the front line were uprooted. The following trees were almost uprooted and the whole forest shook because of the intensity of the force of the wind. Issei stared at the glide falling Raphael. Amazing. Issei exclaimed. Raphael laughed at the Issei's flabbergasted expression. Your turn. Raphael said. Issei gladly jumped off and soared perfectly at that. Raphael smiled at the soaring Issei, impressed at how quickly Issei got comfortable with flying. Then his eyes widened in remembrance, shoot. I forgot to tell him to control his flapping when he attempts to make a powerful gust. Raphael tapped his head several times. Issei then took form. Raphael ran towards him, Issei, not to Issei already flapped his wings, sending him backwards. A very large gust of wind was sent to a wide-eyed Raphael. The gust wiped the entire forest, sending all of the trees flying, and sent the screaming Raphael far, far away. Issei stared at the spinning Raphael, Waffle-sama. Issei shouted, holding his towards Raphael as if to say don't leave. Someone broke down to fits of laughter. Issei turned around to see Uriel holding his stomach, laughing. Issei glared at Uriel, hey. That was Yao Brothu. Issei shouted, glaring while wagging his finger. This only made Uriel laugh even more. Uriel was struggling to breathe as he can't stop laughing. Uriel fell down his butt. After a while, Uriel stopped laughing. He looked at Issei who was glaring at him. Uriel-sama, you need to help Waffle-sama. Issei ordered, his arms crossed which only made him look more adorable. Uriel stared at him before going to another maniacal fits of laughter. I'm sure my brother can take care of himself. Also the reason I came here in the first place was to teach you how to use your angelic powers. Issei seemed reluctant, but when Uriel gave him a threatening smile he nodded quickly. Good, now that you're a semi-angel of some sort, you have light powers. This light powers are very lethal against devils. Now we mainly use our light energy to form spears and arrows, made of the very light energy itself. But on some angels, they prefer to take a weapon and infuse their light energies instead. It's not that these particular angels have poor light energies, they are not just very proficient in shaping them and maintaining the raw energy in that spear or arrow form. Now first, we need to find out on which category you fall. Uriel said. Issei asked, and how exactly do we do that? Uriel smiled at Issei, we see if you can summon a light spear and manage to maintain it for 5 minutes. To create a light spear, just imagine the shape, color, and design of your light spear, then will it to materialize to where you want it to be, either on your hands or floating right beside you. Issei nodded. He imagined the spear he wanted to make, suddenly a spear with a dragon design etched around the base appeared in his mind. Unbeknownst to Issei, terror filled the two heavenly dragons. They both quickly agreed with each other to seal Issei's angelic powers to prevent him from creating the spear. Issei thought, here I go. He said to himself. The ball of golden light appeared between his palms, it started to take the form of a spear. Uriel suddenly lost his relaxed state and walked near Issei to take a closer look, the area around them darkened. Issei smiled at this, alright. Issei exclaimed mentally. But much to his disappointment and to the relief of the two heavenly dragons, the semicircle spear dissipated. Uriel sighed in relief, Hugh. I was actually unnerved back there, looks like you'll need a weapon huh? Uriel created a golden, medium-sized magic circle. From there rose a sword that looked like the ones you see in Europe. It had a reddish-purple grip and a golden hilt with stylized crosses at the edges of the guard. The guard resembles that of a dragon's claws. When the sword was completely out, the magic circle disappeared, the sword stabbed itself on the ground, in between Issei and Uriel. Uriel walked towards the sword and took it out of the ground, raising the sword, the shiny blade reflecting the bright lights of heaven. Issei's eyes stared in amazement, his mouth wide open. Uriel noticed Issei's expression and couldn't help but smile at it. This is the holy sword, Ascalon the Dragon Slayer, which was originally wielded by St. George. I figured since you're the Joker of Gabriel, you take this. Use it wisely, Issei. Uriel said softly. Issei couldn't believe what he heard, I will use this. Really Issei asked, surprised. Uriel was barely able to stop himself from pinching Issei's cheek. Yes Issei. Consider it a gift. Uriel replied kindly. To his surprise, instead of getting the sword, Issei jumped to his leg and hugged it, saying thank you continuously. Now Uriel struggled a lot not to hug Issei back because he would probably crush his little body. Somehow, Uriel managed to refrain himself and decided to go for a pat in the head instead. After a while, Issei let go of Uriel's leg and they began the lessons again. Now, Issei. Infusing an object, in your case, your weapon Ascalon, with light energy is quite similar with how you tried to create a light spear, but instead, imagine that energy flowing from your body to your sword. Immediately, Issei started doing what Uriel said. Ascalon's blade started glowing brightly, the light engulfed the area. A few seconds lasted before the light faded. Ascalon blade now glowed golden. Whoa. Issei said in amazement. Uriel smiled, congratulations, Issei. You have successfully infused your sword with angelic power. Uriel said, now, we're still not done yet, Issei. Now that you know how to infuse objects with your energy, let's move on to infusing your attacks with angelic energy. Issei made a gesture to Ascalon. Oh, right. Just ask Drager Albion to keep it. I'm already on it, Issei. So don't worry. Just after Albion spoke. The sword dematerialized, the left arm of Issei made a sound, probably signaling the successful keeping of Ascalon. Now let's begin. Your wings are very crucial in the battlefield. Not only can you gain the ability to fly, you can also use them as a weapon. You can use your wings to slice and slash at your enemies. To do this, you must infuse your wings with holy angelic energy. I suppose you can do that already. Issei nodded, this time there were no flashy glows, the wings simply glowed golden. Now if you use those as weapons, they will hurt. But it could only go so far. A while back, I saw Raphael teaching you how to create a gust of wind using your wings. Now that is impressive and all, but it won't be much if you are against fallen angels and devils. It could only go so far as to send them flying away like what you did with my brother a while back. But imagine if you could add holy angelic light energy with a gust of wind. Now that would deal serious damage, a very powerful move indeed. It would be hard for the enemy to dodge it in time. Uriel said. Now to do this you must infuse your wings with the holy angelic light energy, then create the gust of wind. Now, give it a try. Issei nodded in response, a smile on his face. Issei took off in the sky, since he had his wings infused in holy angelic light energy, when he flew he left a trail of sparkling golden light. Issei did a soar before flapping his wings towards the mountain. Now the gust of wind looked the same, except there was these waves of light which moved with the wind. Issei squinted to see what it will do. The whiteboard Raphael and Issei left got caught up in the gust, and to Issei's surprise and amazement, the wave of light sliced through the whiteboard quickly. The whiteboard was reduced into pieces. Issei saw someone far away. It was Raphael-sama. Gabriel saw this too, but pretended not to see him and whistled. Issei started to flail his arms wildly, gesturing Raphael to move out the way. But it looks like Raphael didn't understand. What? He shouted. Looks like he didn't notice the gust of wind coming his way. After a while Raphael heard a whooshing sound. He looked around wildly. He looked at a suspiciously looking area. He saw a quickly moving wave of light spinning around wildly, and realization struck him. Hhhhh. Raphael's scream resounded throughout the whole island. Uriel grabbed his stomach. He fell down the ground again, laughing. After a while, Raphael returned, exhausted. His armor and cape were ruined, evidence of torn up areas adorned his whole attire. The wave of light was strong enough to dent even armors, so Raphael unhappily returned with a giddy Issei and a laughing Uriel to heaven. Angels looked at him weirdly, and he sunk his head down even lower. Uriel just kept laughing as he watched his brother sigh. After they apologized to an upset Raphael, Uriel dropped off Issei in the heavens library. They saw Gabriel reading some sort of guidebook in raising children. Gabriel guided Issei towards her table and sat down opposite of Issei. Issei. How was your training today with my brothers? Gabriel asked cheerfully. Issei responded, returning Gabriel's smile, it was very fun. Although it was exhausting, it was very fun. Gabriel smiled, I'm glad to hear that. Now, my brothers may have taught you how to fight, fly, the history of our supernatural world. But do you know what the most important lesson is, Issei? Issei shook his head. Gabriel noticed his hair was a lot blonder compared to last night. Gabriel said, the most important lesson is knowing how to love and kind. That is the reason why Father made us in the first place. It is important to remember this Issei, if you do anything bad or think of impure thoughts, your wings will flicker black. Now when this happens, stop what evil deed you are committing at that very moment and clear your mind of those impure thoughts. If you don't, you will fall and become one of the fallen angels. Then Gabriel will be very lonely. Do you want me to become lonely? Gabriel asked. Issei stood up on his chair. I will never leave Gabriel's side. Issei shouted across the room. The angels looked at him, muttering so cute. Or adorable. Gabriel smiled warmly at Issei. Now Issei. This is the library. Be quiet when you're in the library. Issei quickly sat down. Listen, Issei. I want you to grow up to be a strong man. But I also want you to grow up to become a kind and loving man. Gabriel smiled. Oh Gabriel, I promise to grow up to be a strong loving man. Gabriel tucked Issei to bed. Gabriel was going to leave, but Issei's hand took hold of hers. Gabriel, I promise I will grow strong so I will be powerful enough so I could protect you. Issei declared. Gabriel smiled at Issei and struck his hair. Before all that, you go to sleep first. And so Issei was sleeping peacefully on his bed. In his mind. Brag, that was a close one. If Issei successfully created the spear of the dying dragon, Issei wouldn't be able to handle its power just yet. It would burn his very soul. Or if that didn't kill him, Issei will lose control of that spear. That spear can rip apart this universe. I know. But I am more concerned of Issei than this universe really. Don't really care for these angels or devils. That spear will attract the enemies God told us before he faded. Issei is not yet ready to defend himself or this world against these creatures. It will be too risky to give him that spear. For now, let's just wait till he reaches 10, no 15 years old. 10 would have been appropriate if he got only one of us. But he got both of us, so 15 it is. It's better to play safe. Or risk burning Issei's soul and condemning him to eternal suffering. Definitely better to play safe. Time skip, 9 years, Issei. 15 years old. It's very dark tonight, Issei? A young man with spiky blonde hair and green eyes said. Issei looked at him and smiled. Well, it seems like you like it. You can easily change the sky to your liking, right Dulio? Issei's hair was now light blonde and he was about 6 feet tall now. Dulio was around 6'1". Dulio shrugged his shoulders and went back to eating his dinner and drinking his wine. They were currently on a cruise ship going to a private island near Japan. It was a resort that only rich people could afford to go to. But actually, it wasn't a resort. It was inhabited by shape-shifting monsters that devour humans and keep the females in cages as their plaything. These monsters are quickly multiplying, using their female prisoners for breeding and pleasure. It wouldn't be long until these monsters are numerous enough to invade the mainland. So the angels decided to take action before the matter gets even worse than before. Sending their 2 jokers to wipe out the monsters and rescuing the prisoners. The cruise ship was a magnificent one, Issei admits. It has its own movie theater, gymnasium, and swimming pool on the top deck. It also has a ballroom inside it. Issei and Dulio were currently at the top deck having dinner while surveying the large, magnificent ocean and feeling the wind hit their faces. The crew was serving them with fine wine and Angus steaks. Dulio gladly devoured the food while Issei was checking his steak if it was really beef and not human meat. Hey Dulio. Do you think these crewmen are monsters? I was just wondering, Issei asked the eating Dulio, looking at the dark skies. Dulio turned his head towards the smiling waiter who was looking at them. Dulio quickly looked down. I don't know, but they're creeping me out. Dulio said. Well. I didn't expect the Joker of Michael to be such a coward. Issei teased. I said they were creeping me out, not scaring me. Dulio whispered at Issei. Issei was wearing a white tuxedo with some red linings on them. While Dulio was wearing a white suit, under the white suit was a golden shirt. Also Dulio had a black bow tie around his neck. They sure were attracting the eyes of a lot of ladies, which bothered Issei and therefore always kept looking at the ground when they walk around the cruise ship. While Dulio paid them no heed and kept tasting food and muttering, "Ooh. Issei, taste this, it's extremely delicious, I will definitely make the church facilities try this." They were planning to get the monsters off guard. Issei learned from Gabriel how to suppress his powers to make it look like he is a normal human being. Dulio knows how to do this also, so they decided to catch the enemy off guard. Besides, when they decide to attack the enemy directly, they might use the human prisoners against them and risk getting one killed. Issei was trained by Uriel throughout the years in the way of the sword, therefore Issei is very proficient in swordsmanship. Uriel told him he can't always rely on his holy gust of wind, so he asked Uriel to train him in swordsmanship. Issei asked Drake and Albion why he still can't use them. They simply told him to have patience, then laugh, annoying Issei even further. Boy Issei. I am going to go ahead to our room and take a sleep. I'm exhausted from tasting food all day, so I'll go to sleep early tonight. Good night. Dulio said as he stood up and started to walk to the quarterdeck. Issei sighed, he still didn't know why he can't use even one of his sacred gears. He looked at his half-eaten steak, then looked at Dulio's empty plate. He noticed a little piece of paper inside Dulio's empty glass. Issei looked around him, making sure no one was watching, then looked at what was written in the piece of paper. They're watching you right now. Act normal and make your way to the engine room, destroy some parts of it so the trip will be delayed and the crew will gather there to take a look. We'll use this opportunity to sneak in the captain's cabin to gather extra information. Issei stood up and surveyed the area. There were 2 waiters roaming the dining area. The waiter near the entrance of the boat which Dulio saw a while ago, and the guard holding a sniper on top of a tower in between the swimming pool and the dining area. Issei put on an angry expression on his face and marched his way towards the waiter near the entrance. "Sir, is something wrong?" the waiter asked. "Damn right there is. My food tasted like garbage, I thought your food here was high quality." "Well my friend, Dulio's cooking is so much better than yours and his cooking is the worst." Issei glared at the waiter. The waiter yelped, "I'm sorry sir. I will quickly get you another steak." "Good. I will just go get something in my room. By then I want my food to be there already, prepared and all that," Issei said coldly. The waiter nodded his head multiple times, opening the door for Issei. Issei waited for the door to close before sighing deeply. "I must say your acting is perfect, Issei." "Albion's right. You're good at acting, partner." "Haha." Issei sighed. "Albion, Drake, shut up. Really doing that was weird," Issei said, embarrassed. He massaged his face, feeling weird at becoming angry. He heard laughter in his mind, making him sigh again and shake his head. Issei made his way to the engine room. He entered the engine room, there were clanking wheels and turbines. There was also a panel filled with buttons with different color. Issei then kicked the panel hard, electricity sparked, but it didn't bother Issei and kept kicking the panel. Issei broke off a lever to use it to hit the electrical fuse box. The electricity flowing to him didn't bother him. Instantly, the lights went off and the turbines stopped turning, stopping the cruise ship immediately. Issei caught the slowly stopping wheels and grabbed one. Being an angel, he had of course super strength. He broke one of the wheels off and rammed the turbine with it. Issei quickly sneaked his way towards his room. He entered and saw Dulio in pajamas, seemingly fell down the bed when he was sleeping. Issei sweat dropped. "I didn't expect you to really sleep." Issei tapped Dulio's shoulder. Immediately, Dulio jumped up and hit Issei's face, who was looking down, with his head. Issei staggered back and fell down while holding his nose. "Adatata Dulio." Issei screamed threateningly, fixing his nose. Dulio grinned apologetically. "Sorry. That was fast." Issei glared. "Now what?" "I stopped the ship. I destroyed the panel, turbines, and the wheels." Dulio eyes widened. "I said destroy some parts, not destroy the entire thing." "I didn't. I left the lever safe." Issei smiled. Dulio face palmed. "Anyways, let's take a look at the documents in the captain's cabin already," Issei said. Dulio sighed. "At least let me change to appropriate clothes." "Geez. Issei and Dulio walked down the corridors of the cruise. They had fake angry expressions on their faces, so the waiters who were going to approach them back off. From time to time, when there's a corridor with no people, they would laugh at each other before continuing their way to the captain's cabin. They finally arrived at the door. Dulio looked around to see no one and signaled Issei to take a peek. Issei looked inside to see no one. Issei destroyed the electrical fuse box, turning the security cameras off. Issei entered the captain's cabin silently. He immediately spotted the table with maps and documents. He took a look at the maps until he found the map of the island they are going to. The map was very detailed, even showing the locations of the security cameras and where the prisoners are held. Dulio, who was beside him looking at the documents, took an interesting one. Look, Issei, these says the crew is mixed, humans and monsters. Why will the humans help monsters devour humans? Issei started to think also when footsteps approaching was heard. Dulio pulled Issei down. He suddenly made the sea make a large wave to tilt the ship a little bit. Dulio and Issei heard screaming and the sound of tumbling. Dulio then summoned a series of continuous thunder strike. Issei and Dulio sprinted to their room, the thunder covering the sound of their footsteps. They reached their room and quickly went in and leaned on the door, both laughing at the intense excitement they felt while running away. Since they suppressed their powers to tier 8, they can't run as fast as they actually can, and their stamina got lower, although it didn't take their strength away. Issei wiped his forehead. Damn, I hate this mission. Dulio laughed in reply, also catching his breath. You know Gabriel would have probably scolded you for saying damn. Dulio said. Issei couldn't help but laugh, imagining Gabriel's angry expression, still beautiful as ever. Issei blushed. Issei, why are you blushing? Oh, don't tell me you like. Issei's eyes widened. No. I don't like Gabriel. No. Dulio raised one of his eyebrows. I was going to say no one. I wasn't referring to Gabriel in any way. So you were the one who assumed it was Gabriel. So it's Gabriel, huh? Issei blushed even more. You messed up, Issei. Messed up real bad. Issei's face got even redder. You guys shut up. Dulio smiled at Issei, knowing why he blushed. I would love to interrogate you further, but I decided to drop it. Dulio teased. Issei was going to respond when the lights turned on. Wow, they really do have skilled engineers to fix a damage like that quickly. Dulio said, amazement in his voice. Issei held the map tightly. They will probably do an inspection to all rooms when they find out someone took the map to the island. I'll keep it inside my tuxedo. Dulio nodded in agreement. He took a look at the peephole and he saw two men in uniform, must be the cruise ship's guards. They knocked on their door. Issei fixed his tuxedo while Dulio fixed the end of his pants. Dulio was about to open the door when the guards forced the door to open, Dulio barely avoiding the door. The guards stepped in to see Issei on the table, who paid them no attention. The guards walked towards the busy Issei. Dulio gulped silently, for if they get caught, the whole operation will fail. The guards rudely took what Issei was drawing. Issei looked at them coldly. Issei was drawing the night sky, with a full moon in the upper right corner of the drawing. It was very detailed. The guards nodded their head, admiring the drawing Issei made. When they looked at Issei to return the drawing, Issei looked at them in the eyes coldly, sending shivers down the guard's back. We're sorry, sir. It's just that is a really good drawing. Well, aren't you nice fellows? You barge in our room, no greetings. Then you take what I'm working on, no permissions. Issei slammed his hand on the table while shouting. The guards looked down. We are very sorry for intruding your room. Please, forgive us. The guards bowed their head in apology and exited the room. Dulio closed the door and locked it, making sure the guards are gone. He laughed. Issei, you're very great at acting. Issei rolled his eyes. We told you so. Dulio laughed at Issei's pissed expression. Issei entered the bathroom. Let's go to sleep, Dulio. We'll have a very long day tomorrow. Issei brushed his teeth. By the time Issei exited the bathroom, Dulio was snoring on the bed. I will certainly not sleep on the bed with that guy. Issei said to himself, amused at how quickly Dulio went to sleep. Issei took one pillow from Dulio's bed. He laid down the ground, just right next to the bed. Good night, Greg. Good night, Albion. Issei greeted them mentally. Good night, Issei. Good night, partner. Issei smiled at the window. Night sky. Good night, Gabriel. The next morning, Issei woke up, sweat all over his body. He had another nightmare of his parents' dead bodies. And a near-to-death Gabriel next to them. I thought you said you would always protect me. A wide-eyed Gabriel said to him while holding out her hand. Partner, it's just a dream. Relax. Issei nodded before breathing deeply, taking in the fresh sea air. Looks like Dulio opened the windows before he probably left to taste every food in the breakfast menu. Issei stood up and stretched. He looked out the window. The island was visible now. Issei yawned as he put on a robe on him. Well, here goes nothing. He smiled grimily. He exited the room and took off for the top deck. He felt the eyes of the females on him, making him run for the top deck. He squinted his eyes because of the sun. When his eyes adjusted with the light, just spotted Dulio waving at him with both arms, a muffin in his mouth. Issei smiled at the carefree attitude of his fellow joker. He sat opposite of Dulio. Immediately the waiters served him with a full English breakfast. "Oh hey, Issei. We're almost there." Issei devoured his eggs first, then sipped the hot coffee served with the meal. "Yep, we're almost there." After finishing his breakfast, he changed into his trunks and took a dip. Dulio watching him while tasting the different flavors of ice cream the cruise ship had. Not long after, the ship arrived at the dock. Dulio and Issei packed up. Dulio was wearing a tight white t-shirt and blue khaki shorts. On his head was a brown Panama and sunglasses. Issei was also wearing a tight white shirt but red khaki shorts. Issei wasn't wearing a hat, only sunglasses. Both their six-pack was identifiable because the shirts were tight. The ladies stared at them like they are the last pizza in the whole wide world, as Dulio put it. They were first toured around the island. It was a very magnificent one. The sands were white, the coconut palms were arranged in a similar way, acting like borders separating the sands from the hotel they are going to stay in. The hotel was designed in an exotic way. The roof of the hotel were made of or designed to look like long coconut leaves. The walls were designed to look like the ones in a native home. Well, it looked like that on the outside. In the inside it was equipped with modern high-end furniture and electrical appliances. Issei and Dulio were given their keys. Dulio put it in his pocket. The tour continued for at least 30 minutes before they were allowed to roam freely. Dulio and Issei hastily entered their room to plan. Dulio ordered Issei to locate the location of the prisoners. Issei found the location of the prison. It was disguised to act like a cafeteria, but under it, the prisoners are being kept. Issei returned to Dulio and reported, "Issei, this monsters belongs to 7th tier. They will probably start their mischief when the sun is gone. By then we must be ready to act quickly. We first free the prisoners, before we reduce our power suppression to that of a 6th tier, we wipe them off quickly. So we could return to heaven. I miss sleeping on my extra fluffy bed, and I'm sure there is someone you have been missing very badly also. A Seraph, I suppose." Dulio said teasingly, which made Issei glare despite his red face. They waited till nightfall came. Dulio casted spells on the doorknobs and windows of the rooms in the hotel, where the monsters won't be able to enter that room. Issei sneaked inside the cafeteria. There were 3 waiters, presumably monsters, guarding the door into the kitchen. Since waiters suspiciously gathered around that door, Issei assumed the passage into the underground prison was inside. He waited for the other diners to leave the cafeteria until he was the only one left. Looks like the monsters decided him to be their first victim and surrounded him. The one with a creepy smile approached him. "Good evening, sir. Since you're the only one left, why don't you come with us? We will show you the secret recipe for the meals." Issei smiled kindly. "Really? Let's get going then." This waiter with the creepy smile started to walk, signaling Issei to follow. Issei discreetly took one table knife. Now Issei knows this is practically harmless, but when infused with holy angelic energy, it could kill a monster. When Issei entered the kitchen, the chef greeted him with a downward slash with a cleaver. Issei sidestepped calmly, sending the chef stumbling out of the kitchen. The 3 waiters from earlier changed appearance, becoming monsters that can send courage out of even the bravest of soldiers to face. Unluckily to them, Issei was no ordinary soldier, he was the Joker of Gabriel. And when something happens to be made of dark magic, meeting an angel, no less of Joker position, is sudden death. Issei quickly moved, even faster than the ghoul's extra sensitive eyes can catch up to. He appeared behind one, slicing its head in half with the infused table knife, before kicking the other one, sending it flying across the kitchen table at the middle of the room. The force of Issei's kick was enough to break its neck. The single ghoul standing lunged at Issei, but got a hard kick in the stomach as a result. The cracking of extra hard rock was heard as the last ghoul fell down the floor, whimpering. Issei threw the table knife with terrifying accuracy that impaled itself through the whimpering ghoul's empty yellow eye. Its wiggling body immediately froze before turning to black dust. The 2 other corpses also turned to black dust. Issei turned to look at the door at the very corner of the room. It was a heavy metal door. He took a step back before running towards the metal door, jumping and kicking it down easily. The rock around the door broke off like glass, and the metal door was sent clanking down the stairs. It revealed a dark and moist staircase. Its walls were damp yellow, with some dried blood spilled all over it. The air was weirdly silent, the smell of blood filled the place. Issei looked back, making sure the monsters were nothing but black dust. Issei took a step down when the kitchen door flew open, and there was the scary chef he sent stumbling out of the room. He smirked at the growling chef. "Took you long enough. You won't turn into a ghoul. I'll have you know that going against me in that form is like surrendering," Issei said, unknowingly mocking the chef whose face became more agitated, word by word. The chef crunched down, like he was preparing to lunge at Issei. Issei waited for the chef to change into his ghoul form, but he didn't. Realization and disgust struck Issei. This chef wasn't a ghoul or a monster, he was human. His feeling and opinion on this island only became worse. He growled at the chef. "You're human." Issei's voice dripping with disbelief. "You would do this to your own?" he asked. The chef laughed cruelly. "Hey, why not?" He shrugged nonchalantly before grinning evilly at Issei. "If I benefit from the high-class girls I get to play with, I'll gladly help the monsters." Issei growled, gripping his fist. He couldn't believe a human could actually team up with monsters to fulfill his own desire. Issei was surprised when a blinding light filled the room and the chef's scream filled the air. When the light subsided, Issei found the bastard chef lying on the ground in front of him, twitching. Little lightning streaks dancing around his body. Julio walked up to Issei, a grave expression on his face. His eyes were cold steel, unlike how his eyes were always full of lethargy, and his bored laid-back smile was long gone. His normally happy-go-lucky attitude replaced by a seriously dangerous one. "Issei, I got the other passengers on the boat. Luckily, I saved one girl walking down the coastline from getting Julio glared at the twitching chef. "We better get the prisoners quickly, before the reinforcements come." Issei nodded. He quickly made his way down the staircase. The stench of rust that blood had entered his nose and he grimaced. He walked a bit faster, the urge of rescuing the females becoming stronger. When he reached the end of the staircase, he barely managed to control his anger and destroy the whole island. The sight behold disgusted him. It was like a prison, but instead of brutes and hunks with tattoos were females, ages ranging from 45 to 6 wearing shackles and chains, much to Issei's horror. The floor was tainted with blood. Issei's heart broke as he saw a little girl in shackles, hugging her knees and crying beside another woman who was naked and dead, a large metal spear impaling her. Issei turned to Julio, who was just as equally horrified as he was. Julio immediately walked to a nearby cell and opened it, creating a flame to melt the lock. "Please, no. Not my granddaughter," a voice screamed. Issei immediately located the source of the voice. He gripped his fists tightly as he saw 3 ghouls, taking a little girl away from an old woman who was crying, pleading. Issei quickly ended the 3 ghouls' life before they even knew it. He broke their necks and hugged the little girl. He led the couple to Julio, who was done with freeing the other prisoners. There was only one girl left when the howling began. This means the ghouls finally found the black dust mixed in sand on the shore. Issei was filled with dread. He'd have to leave the girl or the running females will get massacred before they even get to the cruise ship. Julio looked at his partner in worry. He knew how hard this choice was to Issei, but it was necessary. "Issei. You have to. We'll return for her." Issei took a final glance at the girl before gritting his teeth. "Fine." He shouted, running after Julio, who nodded, his eyes full of pity. The females that escaped successfully made it to the cruise ship. Julio brought down bolts of lightning that blasted running ghouls to black dust. The ghouls were very fast, like wolves chasing down their prey. But they can't get near the females as either a bolt of lightning will turn them to dust or Issei will bring them down with his hands and break their necks. "I'll hold them off, get the crews away the shore, Julio." Issei gave a thumbs up to Julio, who nodded immediately. His eyes glowed silver, waving his hand towards a nearing crowd of ghouls. He created a small whirlwind with blades of wind that sliced the unfortunate ghouls that came across its path. Julio gave Issei a nod before opening his wings and flying towards the cruise ship. Issei smiled at the nearing ghouls. "It's payback time." "Balance technique, Ascalon Cutlass." Issei screamed out as he held his hands up to the sky. A red and silver magic circle appeared on top of him, and a red light filled the whole island, making the rampaging ghouls to stop in confusion and wariness. They growled at the magic circle that radiated the odd light. Issei smiled at them before pulling a sword out of the magic circle that was rotating slowly. As the sword was pulled out, the magic circle vanished, and so did the light filling the island. As the magic circle closed, a wave of strong wind blew from all directions. The palm across the shores danced with it, and the dust that Julio had made with the dead ghouls scattered. Issei grinned devilishly, raising the sword across his face, its silver blade glinting under the moonlight. A red aura surrounded Issei. The ghouls walked warily towards their enemy, crouched low. Somehow, their bodies were frozen in fear as Issei sliced his cutlass. A deadly power emitted through its surrounding. The cutlass's hilt was scarlet red. And before the blade, a blood-red dragon's head was there, its mouth open. Out came the silver blade that reflected the eerie light the full moon shone. The dragon's body was twisted throughout the hilt until its tail reached the very end of the cutlass and was wrapped around Issei's forearm. On the boat, Julio gulped. He used the wind to move the ship since the electrical power the cruise ship had was gone at the activation of his partner's powers. He looked at the patch of red light on the island from afar, sighing. "Issei," he complained, "please don't get overboard with your flashy dragon powers." Julio leaned on the railings of the cruise. He sighed once again as the sea breeze whipped his face. He knew Issei was furious after seeing the situation the females were in. He was just afraid that the power Issei will send might reach them. The thought was funny, but if that red death wave the Joker of Gabriel creates reach him, it'll be troublesome for him to create an ice boat to save these passengers of his. Back on the island, the ghouls ran. Ran as far away and as quickly as possible. They tried to run away from this monster. This cutlass-wielding monster that was chasing after them and slicing them in half effortlessly, his smile never fading. Issei slid through the sands perfectly, slicing down one ghoul after another. The ghouls gave up on fighting this god. They were powerless. Run, run. I will show you how it is to be weak and make you feel the terror the weak have when the strong is on them. Issei said. He jumped on the sand, leaving sand scattering as he dashed towards another ghoul, slicing it in half, before dashing towards the nearest one again. The ghouls' incredible numbers decreased quickly as Issei started his rampage. Issei stopped his rampage as he saw a large shadow of a man with 10 wings. Issei instinctively rolled away, just in time to dodge multiple light spears that exploded, making him jump away. Impressive. A man said. Issei quickly deflected another light spear away. He recognized the man as Gabriel, one of the fallen angels. Issei pointed his cutlass against the fallen angel. Are you the one behind this? He asked. Gabriel laughed. You dare point a sword against me, huh angel? You are lucky you're important to Seraph Gabi, and I kinda like you also or you'd be dead. He paused, looking at Issei straight in the eye, but yes, I am the man behind this. Issei shook with rage. He remembered the scene when he got down the staircase, remembering the sufferings of the female that were used as playthings. He gritted his teeth, crouching down, getting ready to slice the fallen angel in half, you bastard. He screamed as he jumped up, making a slice at Gabriel, whose eyes were wide in the speed Issei moved. Impressive, indeed. He complimented, before flying away from the raging angel. Issei opened his own sets of wings, 10 pure white wings that shone in the dark night. Magic technique. Ascalon Kopish. Issei screamed aloud. A magic circle appeared above him once again. Although the symbols were different. Gabriel recognized some of the runes as Egyptian, while the others are mysterious, only been seen by him just now. He looked on as the magic circle rotated and Issei inserted his cutlass into the magic circle before pulling it, the sword brand new in form. Its hilt was slightly curved, this time, its hilt was silver, with a silver dragon's head opened. Out came the red blade that pulsed with power, exciting Gabriel even more. Gabriel flew away, feeling the pain the radiated power gave him. What's this? Your death. Issei said, the tail of the silver dragon wrapping around his arm. He brought his hand up to the sky, the pulsing of the sword becoming quicker before bringing it down, creating a large arc of destruction that sliced its way. The ghouls that were too enamored with the wave were immediately turned to dust. The water from the shore retreated back to the ocean, and the trees were uprooted. The hotel that was built was reduced to ashes. Gabriel narrowly dodged the red wave of destruction. He stared in awe as the wave sliced through the forest like some kind of vacuum cleaner. It even sliced the mountain in half. Gabriel looked at his arm in surprise, or where it used to be. His arm must have disintegrated from being too near. He laughed, amused. Wow, so you did grow up strong. He shook his head, but even that won't be enough to defeat me, Ice-chan. He said playfully. Issei growled. He knew Gabriel was right. His vision was blurry now. And his head was spinning. His arms were sloppy and his chest felt like breaking. He can barely breathe and his grip was loosening. He must have overused his energy. Issei fell down the ground. Gabriel laughed at this, ha ha ha. You're mine now. I don't think so. Before Gabriel registered what he heard, he was sent flying to the forest as a lightning bolt blasted him, hitting his chest. Julio immediately picked Issei up, you idiot. Using your energy up like that. Do you have a death wish? He asked. But he was given a snore as an answer. The hard expression on Julio's face softened and a smile formed across his face. He shook his head. Let's go home, Issei. The ghouls started attacking again, but Julio noticed this and smiled. He stood up, waving his hand. This time, a huge wave, defeating those of a tsunami in terms of height, appeared from the shore and charged forward. It parted against Julio and combined when they were past the angel, charging the approaching, or rather, retreating ghouls, bringing the palm trees, black dust, and scattered remnants of the once hotel with it. Julio unfolded his wings and flew away. End of the here. So that's it for today's video guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.